Hello students, welcome to La Excellence. Welcome to our 12th weekly magazine where we'll be focusing from 14th May to 20th May 2017. Let's quickly get into the issues that we need to see in this week. So the essay of the week is Goods and Services Tax, One Nation and One Tax. Here you have to give some examples and try to explain what are the benefits, and you have to talk about different problems and solutions of taxation within India. Right? This article should be completely on the basis of economy. In the month of May and June, whenever we look at any of the current affairs associated with geography, it would be usually talking about the monsoons. At that time, it is very important for us to look at monsoon carefully and understand what are the things which are actually responsible for monsoon. This we should take as an opportunity to revise monsoon topic in geography properly. As you are aware, May 25th is the day when in Andaman and Lakshadweep and few islands you see monsoon arriving. And June 1st, we actually see the monsoons actually affecting most of the Indian lands, right? That is, the monsoon starts entering into Indian land on June 1st, and after that, you will see it entering in most of the Indian territory. And the second important thing, whenever you read about monsoons, my request to you is different materials say there are different reasons that lead to the formation of monsoons. For example, if you actually take Savindra Singh or any of the standard books, their way of explanation with respect to monsoons is completely different, where they give you some present data what is leading to the formation of monsoons. But most of the questions when we look at, we don't know whether UPSC will be following these concepts which are related to the new topics of monsoons, because different scientists at different point of time has told that different things have led to the formation of monsoon. But what is more important for us is, from NCERT's point of view, we have always seen that whenever questions have come about monsoon, in NCERTs they have given certain reasons which are actually responsible for the formation of monsoons. We are seeing in this year that the monsoon has advanced a bit early. And the most important reason for that is excess heat is there on the territory of India. If you take, you might have heard of heat waves, which we had actually discussed in the previous magazines. Because of heat waves, intense heat waves, the average temperature of the entire Indian subcontinent has actually increased. As it has increased, this has led to air moving up and leading to low pressure area on the land. And on sea, you have little bit of high pressure, which is actually leading to sea breeze, which is creating or which is making the monsoons to move quickly. So here we are talking about one of the basic thing which many people assumed in the beginning, that the differential heating of land and the ocean actually leads to the formation of monsoon. But after understanding the tricellular meridional circulation and also jet streams and the processes that are involved through El Nino and other things, we have realized that there is role of Tibetan plateau, and intense heating during summer in Tibetan plateau leads to ITCZ shifting almost towards that, and this makes below Tibetan plateau the regions will be prone to southwest monsoons. Right? So here we are seeing about the issue, that is low pressure area is present in the Tibetan plateau and the high pressure is actually present near the Mascarene Islands closer to Madagascar in Africa. So the high pressure is in Indian Ocean and low pressure is in the Tibetan plateau. The difference between high pressure and low pressure, we all know winds move from high pressure to low pressure. This actually makes the winds to blow from Indian Ocean to India. This makes Indian monsoon to be unique, usually during the summer period. Along with this, the most important topic which we need to see with respect to monsoons is you have African easterly jet stream and also we have jet streams. We know that the jet stream which is moving closer to Himalayas, if it is present below Himalayas, that is towards India, then we usually see the monsoon rainfall doesn't occur properly. But once this monsoon moves away from the Himalayas, we usually observe that there will be burst of monsoons. Whenever the jet stream come on India, we see breaks in monsoons. When it moves away from India, we see burst of monsoons. So all these concepts are important, and after this, the IT sees it, keeps moving southward, and then the region which is covered by monsoons or southwest monsoons will be replaced by northeast monsoons. India is affected, or the monsoons of India can be seen as one southwest monsoon and northeast monsoon. Here what all you have to see, if you open any of your basic NCERT books, they give you a map where they actually talk about different timelines when the monsoon actually reaches at different parts of the country. For example, when you take Kerala coast June 1st, when you actually take Bombay or Mumbai, it will be June 10th. So UPSC may ask you, arrange the following places according to the arrival of monsoons. So at that point of time, you should be very careful. When it comes to cities which they are arranging only in the Ganga and Brahmaputra valley, that is when we are talking about the states in North India, then we should remember that it actually moves from east to west. That is, it moves from northeast India to western India. That is, it moves from Meghalaya, Nagaland and other countries, other states to Punjab. So the distribution of rainfall reduces once we move from east to west. As we are talking about advances in monsoons, they may actually ask you about these dates. So when they ask about these dates, rather than asking about the date, they may ask you where does monsoon arrive first, or they may ask you arrange the following cities according to the arrival of monsoons. All these basic concepts are already given in the magazine, but along with this, please try to go through monsoon topics carefully in both the NCERT books, Indian Geography NCERT books which are there in 9th and 10th standard, and also please try to read what is there in 11th standard, right? So guys, this is important for you to look at these two aspects. Then the next important topic from where we can definitely expect a question either in prelims or mains is actually with respect to Belt and Road Forum, which was organized by China for its One Belt, One Road or Maritime Silk Route, where it wants to increase connectivity across different parts of the world through its infrastructure investments, and it wants to revive its ancient Silk Route. To counter this, India did not go, mainly because this OBOR or One Belt One Road of China actually passes through the Karakoram mountain ranges of India. The One Belt One Road also has another thing called as China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which actually connects Kashgar in China to Gwadar in Pakistan. When it passes, it actually passes through Jammu and Kashmir, where it is actually Pakistan occupied Kashmir. India has said we oppose this mainly because as it is passing through our territory, you have not taken our permission and you have listened to Pakistan. It is questioning our territorial sovereignty. So we do not like it. The second important thing India told was this is making countries economically debt ridden. The reason for this is simple. You take the country like Sri Lanka. China has invested some billions of dollars in Sri Lanka. But the problem with Chinese investment is that let us take that China wants to construct a port and it has invested $1 billion. Normally, if any country invests any money in infrastructure development, now this money should be given to Sri Lankan government, which will actually recruit people from Sri Lanka, money and business people from Sri Lanka goods, infrastructure, cement, everything from Sri Lanka. So what will happen? All these things will make the $1 billion to be present within Sri Lanka. But unfortunately, whenever Chinese money come, Chinese will bring their own people, Chinese will bring their own goods. So what they will do? They will come, they will set up the port, but take this $1 billion away. Whenever this $1 billion is given to the people of that particular country, that money will be rotating within that country. Over a period of time, the government will collect this money in the form of tax, and it will be easy for that government to pay back. But what China is doing, China is coming, it is investing and taking back all the money. But that country has to pay back $1 billion. This is making any country which is associated or dependent on China to be economically debt ridden. And the third important thing, China wants to construct this across Himalayan mountains, oceans and all, which may lead to environmental damages as well. Environmental sustainability of the projects is not being taken carefully. And at the same time, many people say Chinese project is not coming for free. They are not doing it for free in the world. Their main aim is to push their finished goods into the countries and take back the raw materials from those countries, which is similar to colonial era, where Britishers and other countries built railways in the country mainly because they wanted to send finished goods from Britain to these remote corners and wanted to take raw materials out of this. Though it helped as blessing in disguise, Britishers may say, we brought revolution to your country, but the actual ambition of Britishers were different. So many people are afraid that even the Chinese thing, what they are doing today, may actually lead to something of this sort. Neo-colonialism is the issue. So these are some of the reasons why India did not go. But unfortunately, when we look at the Chinese event, we come to know that Xi actually raised Panchashil. He actually told that we should respect each other. Panchashil was an agreement which was actually signed between India, China and Myanmar. Don't think it's only India and China. It is between India, China and Myanmar as well. So when these three countries did, even though India did not participate, fortunately, Xi actually talked about this, which says they still expect India to be part, and they know that if India doesn't become part of it, most of the countries in future may not be willing to be part of this, and they may question the intention of the project itself. Through their money power, today they may be able to convince leaders to go there, but India's soft power in the region in future may ask the people of those countries to question the intention of these projects, which are making the countries economically debt ridden as well. So here you want to please go through Panchashil agreement, where it is about peaceful coexistence. It is 5 principles. This was first in 1954 between India, China and Myanmar. I have given the 5 principles, very simple, something like mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, which China has not done when it comes to OBOR. Mutual non-aggression, we should not fight against them, and we should not be aggressive about another country, and that country should not be aggressive about this. Something of these thoughts were actually given. And if you also look, they actually talked about mutual non-interference in each other's internal affairs. If we have any internal problem within the country, then the other country should not interfere. But China, knowing that Kashmir is an integral of India, and Pakistan's is an issue between India and Pakistan, but still China has intervened, where the Panchashil, though Xi has talked about, he has not lived to its expectations. Then again, it's important for us to look at Article 142. We have already explained you in 6th magazine, but I have given you Article 142 again here to show that the relevance of 142 is more here. So please go through what is Article 142 from both prelims and mains point of view. The next major issue this week was actually with respect to India's win at ICJ about the Kulbhushan Jadhav case. As you're aware, UPSC will not touch the controversial aspects, but it may ask you in detail about the ICJ. So let us see what exactly ICJ is and what we need to remember with respect to prelims. The International Court of Justice is the principal judicial organ of the United Nations. This statement is important. They may ask you, ICJ is an independent body with respect to UN. No, it is a principal judicial organ of the United Nations. It was established by the Charter of the United Nations. So it makes it to be part of United Nations. And the seat of the court is at the Peace Palace in The Hague. Of the 6 principal organs of the United Nations, it is the only one which is not present in United States. Right? The court's role is to settle in accordance with international law, legal disputes submitted to it by states, and to give advisory opinions on legal questions referred to it by authorized United Nations organs and specialized agencies. Then you have the court is composed of 15 judges. This is very, very important. They may change this, who are elected for terms of office of 9 years by the United Nations General Assembly and the Security Council. It is assisted by a registry, its administrative organ, and its official languages are English and French. Its judgments have been binding force and are without appeal for the parties concerned. The last point is also important. They may say its judgments do not have binding force and others can appeal against it again. Do you understand? So the language of this is very, very important. High possibility they may ask you a question about International Court of Justice. Whatever is required from prelims point of view we have given here, please ensure that you are going through this carefully. So the next important topic from where you can get a question in science and technology, whether it's in prelims or mains, is about the WannaCry, which spreads tears globally, where we are talking about the ransomware attack on countries of the world. In cybersecurity or internal security, they may ask you a question about this. What exactly is that? Ransomware is a specific type of cyber attack. This language is important. It infects your system through the same vulnerabilities as any other computer virus, and the hackers demand a payment to fix your computer. This point is very, very important. This is done not to steal data or so, but they freeze the things in such a way that you have to go to someone to ask their help to remove these viruses, so they can make money out of it. So there are 2 types of ransomware. One which encrypts all your files, which makes it not accessible for you. Or the second thing, they may lock your screen completely, which will not allow you to look at anything. Right? So in both these cases, you have to take some action, and from that, those people will actually earn money. The WannaCry malware is unusual and particularly dangerous because it replicates itself and spreads throughout your computer network once it gets into your system. Right? It is not that every file had to be hacked from outside. It itself can replicate and actually create trouble. So because of the science and technology, cybersecurity point of view, these are important. If you can know clearly about ransomware, it's more than enough. In questions, they may clearly ask you, what is the impact of cybersecurity issues on digital India? So you can start your example or start your answer by giving this particular example. Then IIT Bombay has actually come up with a technology which may actually help our soldiers and even the CRPF Jawans to fight effectively during night. One of the major problems to fight in night is the actual vigilance that we have is not enough to move around. And even though we have given some equipments to our people, it is almost around 1,000 crores per year we are spending on night vision devices. But this one, which the IIT Mumbai people have brought up, is actually helping to reduce the cost And under Make in India, these will be produced in more number, which will not be useful only for us. If we want to export it to other countries also, it will be available. So some of the factual information, like the technology can be used for a range of applications such as night vision, surveillance, and going beyond military and security operations. Even in the detection of cancers, in all these we can use it. The sensor captures the thermal signature emanated by a subject and is accurate to the point of picking up minor temperature differences. The DRDO spends about 1,000 crore per year on importing night vision devices for Indian soldiers and has been searching for an indigenous solution. This is what I was telling you. It is actually helping us to reduce our cost. So if you can actually look at this picture, if this is the actual scene that is there, you can see that different bodies have different temperature properties. I told you one of the major property of this is even minute differences in temperature it can predict. Now you have a tree, you have car, and you have a person. This will be the picture that will be shown. As there are temperature differences between three objects, you will be able to visualize these three things carefully. So this is what they have actually produced. So this actually helps us to reduce our cost in bringing night vision things from outside. And at the same time, if it is available at a cheaper cost, even for Jawans, we can usually give this so that they can fight effectively in Naxal affected areas, Northeast India, or even if it is in Jammu and Kashmir, it will be important. Then you might be aware of the Dhola Sadiya bridge, which the Prime Minister recently inaugurated. As we know, it is India's longest river bridge. Some factual information about it is important. The first one is the bridge is about 9.15 kilometer long. This may be changed, so please be careful. And it spans the Lohit River to connect the states of Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. Even these two statements may be given. They may give Assam and Nagaland, or they may give you Nagaland and Arunachal Pradesh. So please be careful. Next, it is 3.55 kilometer longer than Bandra-Worli Sea Link in Mumbai. So, Bandra-Worli will be the second longest river bridge in India. The bridge can withstand the movement of military tanks. This is very, very important. Some of the heaviest equipments that we have in our army is actually our tankers. And because of its weight and the speed with which it moves, it cannot be shifted to the war zones quickly. Especially if you don't have good roads, it may take days for you to reach the weapons there. By that time, the war might be also ended. So to ensure that this bridge will provide these facilities to move military tanks across, so that in case of war, these areas can be guarded effectively and can be protected effectively. Till now, we were thinking of only Air Force as an option to fight in these regions. But with this, it actually gives us enormous scope to transfer the tanks across the bridge. The bridge will help provide easy access to the people of Arunachal Pradesh and Assam with air and rail connectivity as well. That is, it actually makes you to reach to the air and rail connectivity places. The construction of the bridge began in 2011 at a project cost of Rs 950 crore and it was completed now. Some other facts, like the bridge is located 540 km away from Assam's capital Dispur and 300 km from Arunachal Pradesh. This too is not required. The aerial distance to the Chinese border is less than 100 kilometers. This is the most important one that we have to look at. The bridge, when opened for the public, will cut down the travel time between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. As there is no civilian airport in Arunachal Pradesh, this bridge will help. This was what I was telling you. It connects it with the air and rail. So the bridge is one of the key projects of Ministry of Road Transport and Highways in the Northeast and is built in public-private partnership with a construction company. The last one is important. As it is closer to the border, don't think that it was part of Border Roads Organization. it was actually under Ministry of Road Transport and Highways in the Northeast. So guys, this is very, very important for us to study. High possibility you may get a question about this. If you actually look at the newspaper content, they actually tell you that it can withstand the weight of 60-ton battle tank. It runs across Lohit River and it reduces the time by 4 hours. It is larger than Bandra Worli. Construction of the bridge began, not required. The tank twice they have repeated, which shows the importance of that. 100 kilometer, all these factual information is important for you. Whenever you come across economy, especially when it comes to inflation, GDP and all, you might have heard of base year. Whenever we talk about real prices and constant prices, that is, we usually try to consider the market prices, and sometimes we try to consider the prices which are with respect to the base year, which actually gives you the actual growth. When we actually consider the nominal one, which includes the present market price, what is the cost of a particular product in 2017? If we take, this includes inflation. But if we want to see what was the value added for this particular product, then if we compare it with the base year, it will be beneficial. You all will be aware of this. Earlier, there was different base years given for different things. If you have seen my economic survey, I have clearly told that there is huge difference between WPI that is calculated in the country and CPI that is calculated in the country. Because of this huge difference, we are unable to calculate GDP and other things properly. I hope you remember that. Now the government has taken step to ensure that the base rate CPI was almost at 2011-12, whereas WPI was at 2004-5. Now almost all the things have been changed to 2011-12. So this is one of the most important thing that you need to remember. The second important fact that you need to remember is, if you take something at 2004-5, some products may be manufactured in India, or the demand for some products may be in India only during 2004 and 5. Now, the demand for those products might have been completely stopped, but still, we will be using it to calculate the growth of WPI. This will usually lead to wrong calculation or not proper calculation. At the same time, when we take index of industrial production, it actually tells us what is the trend of industrial production in the country. But because some products are produced now and some products are not produced now, and their contribution in the GDP would have varied. Weightage for anything is given on the basis of their contribution to the GDP. Whenever their contribution has reduced, the weightage changes, and if that product is not used at all, then the problem with that is that will be an additional burden and it will show that there is negative growth of that particular product. So to avoid all this, along with changing base year, some products have been added and some products have been removed. If there were only 2 or 3 products, I would have told you to remember, but there are hundreds of products which are added and hundreds of products which are removed. So what you should actually remember is about base year, and what is important for us is you need to know the base year for almost everything. Apart from this, you have to remember, how does one choose a base year? You have National Sample Survey Organization. Every year it conducts sample surveys, but every 5th year, they try to do a proper sample survey with large base so that they get proper information. These are the one which the governments take to use it as a base year. That is, a base year is one where proper data is available. Second important thing, that year should be a normal year. Sometimes inflation will be more. There will be global financial crisis. At that time, the cost and everything varies. So it should be a normal year in the sense economically, there shouldn't be much problem in that particular year. Then the third important thing is it should be a latest year. You cannot go back Or you cannot say, for example, we are using in 2017. They cannot say that we will use 2008 or 9. We have to come closer to that. The latest available data which is proper is the one which we have to choose. So this is very, very important. High possibility they may ask you a question about it. So guys, after this, we have to look at GST. As you're aware, GST is the most important concept of this year. High possibility you may get a question about this. So first I'll try to explain you some of the basics of GST, and then you can actually look at some of the points from where questions can be asked. Before knowing properly about GST, we have to know how was our taxation system before. If we actually look at the taxes, you have something called as direct taxes and you have something called as indirect taxes. Direct taxes are examples like corporate tax, income tax, etc. You are earning and you are paying. Indirect taxes, you are earning but someone else is paying. So the shopkeeper by selling will earn money, but the tax is paid by the consumer. So GST is not going to replace direct, but it is going to focus on indirect taxes. This is the first point. Second important thing, when we actually look at the types of taxes that are there, we can say that taxes can be imposed by the government at production. Taxes can be imposed by the government during sales. Taxes can be imposed by the government during providing service. Here, when I say product, for example, someone is manufacturing a fridge. So he will pay the production tax. And this person will sell it to wholesaler, distributor and all. And when they sell, they make profit and the sales tax will be imposed on them. And take for example, some company or some shop is using it to give services. So they pay service tax. Hotel, restaurants or someone is using this and they pay service tax. Or sometimes what happens, for example, you take lift. Whenever you take lift or anything related to that, the manufacturer will also give you the service. I'm constructing the house and I'm also giving the services to you. So there both goods and services comes into picture. Is it fine? You have production, you have sales and you have service. Most of the production taxes or almost all the production taxes comes under central government, whereas sales comes under state government. And service tax was levied and actually taken by the central government itself. I hope it is clear. You have three things. You have central government and you have state government, which are actually taking different taxes. Is it right? And there are multiple people who are actually involved in collecting taxes. You might have read there are few taxes which are imposed by the central government but collected by the state governments and kept by the state governments. For example, when we come and look at stamp duties and all, to maintain uniformity across the country, central government will impose a tax on that. Correct? And then state governments will collect it and they will keep it. There are some taxes which are put by central government, collected by state government and distributed between central government and state government. Almost all the taxes are distributed between central government and state government. This is the second important thing. Third, there may be something which is actually levied by central government and collected by central government, kept by central government or distributed by central government. So you have different places where different taxes are imposed. They are collected by different people and different units as well. What is the problem, sir, if we have this? For example, if I have already paid a tax to the central government and if I'm paying another tax to state government, If I have to get any tax back from this, there will be a dispute. And the biggest problem when it comes to this is, let me take a product is originating from Tamil Nadu and it is going to different states like Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. When a product moves to Andhra Pradesh and a product moves to Karnataka, then who will collect the tax and who will keep the tax? If Karnataka people collect, then they have to reimburse to Tamil Nadu. Or if AP people collect, they have to reimburse. There will be some problem. So, what they made, they told that it should be done by the central government itself. This was what we used to call as central sales tax. Is it fine? Because of this, if you are an industrial state like Tamil Nadu and Gujarat, you will be getting more share of central sales tax. But if you are a state which is actually procuring from the industrial state, you will not be benefited much. This is the reason when anyone spoke about GST, Tamil Nadu was not completely happy about it. But later they agreed on different grounds. But I'm trying to tell you that you need to understand complexities that is there in the present system. One, we are focusing on indirect tax. Second, when indirect taxes we are taking, it is not uniformly collected by one organization. It is collected by different organizations and differently on the basis of production where excise duty comes into picture, sales where sales tax comes into picture, and for services of goods and services, you have service tax under central government. Because of all these complexities, two things used to happen. One, either the taxes used to be extremely high, which if at all people want to pay, they used to feel that it is burdening them and it is making the products costly also. And wherever there is scope, people used to avoid paying taxes, which also led to black money. So if I say, through a normal process, what is happening now, government used to earn more tax, which is good. But because of tax evasion and the average thing we see, usually you get very less taxes. We have also seen that the tax payers in India is very less. The reason for all those is high taxes that are there. Different countries in the world has always felt that if we can simplify and reduce the taxes, usually more number of people will be willing to pay the tax so that they want to be clean in front of the system. So, what is the problem? How can I say that in the present system, I am having more taxes and in GST, the taxes will be reduced? For this, let me take a simple example where you have a manufacturer. He actually gives it to distributor and distributor gives it to wholesaler and wholesaler will give to retailer and you are the person who will purchase from the retailer, right? In the present form or non-GST form, let me take a case where the manufacturer has manufactured a good and the cost of that is 100 rupees. Let me begin from the manufacturer itself. So, he will sell the product to distributor. Let me take all the taxes together is 10% throughout. Fine. So, he will add a tax of 10 rupees and he will sell it at 110 rupees. Right? Now, the distributor feels that I should take some 20 rupees profit and let me make the product to be 130. Now on this 130, I have to put 10% tax, which will be 13 rupees. So the product cost will become 143. Correct? And for a wholesaler, I am selling at 143 rupees. Now, wholesaler will feel that I want to add 10 rupees profit. And he will say the cost of the product is 153. And again, there will be 10% tax because different people are involved and different taxes are involved. So, he will actually put a tax of 15.3, which will make the product to be 168.3. Now, retailer will keep a profit of 10 rupees and it will become 178.3. For this 178.3, if I add another 10%, I'll get 17.83, which will actually make it to 196.13. Can you see I paid 10 rupees tax, 13 rupees tax, 15.3, 17.83. Can you see I'm paying more tax here? Now, I want to remove the tax on tax. I have paid tax, but again, he is also paying tax on 100. Distributor is paying tax on 100 plus the profit. Wholesaler is paying the tax on distributor's profit and also the manufacturer's profit. So there is tax on tax, which is making the product to be costly. But when we go to GST, here if I take 100 rupees and if I am putting a tax of 10, it will be 110, right? And now the distributor has added 20 rupees as his profit. Here the distributor pays 20 rupees as profit, whereas the wholesaler will say that distributor has already paid 10 rupees and that has made the product 110. So I need not pay tax for 110. I have to pay tax only for the 2 rupees. If I take the product to be 130 and if I am paying 13 rupees, I won't be paying entire 13 rupees. I can actually say that he has paid 10 rupees already and the remaining is only 3 rupees, or even if I remove the tax on tax, it will be only the value added one. That is, I have to pay only 2 rupees as the tax. Now, if the wholesaler adds 10 rupees, the retailer will pay only 1 rupee. And if retailer adds 10 rupees, he will pay only 1 rupee tax. Here I am telling you that only the tax is on the value added or on the profits, but the tax is not on the tax and the tax is not also on the previous taxes that they have already paid. So if I have to do clearly, the simple thing is, if you have paid 10 rupees as tax, then the retailer, if you are a wholesaler and if you have paid 10 rupees, the retailer need not pay this 10 rupees. Earlier what used to happen? Wholesaler has to pay 10, retailer has to pay wholesaler's profit plus 10 rupees, which used to increase the cost of the product. And taxes were also more. But now you see that the taxes have also reduced. At the same time, we are seeing that the biggest benefit of this is the taxes will be reduced as much as possible. And the other important advantage is, if retailer wants to say that, sir, wholesaler has already paid the tax, then we can ask where is the bill. So retailer will take a bill from wholesaler, wholesaler will take a bill from manufacturer. So this will make everyone in the system to ensure that they pay the taxes. If retailer says, I purchased from this person and this is the bill, and if he is submitting it to the tax people, then obviously the wholesaler also has to say, yes, I sold this and this is in my profits. So that comparison had to come. But till now, the payment of these ITs, and as I told you, there is something called as central tax, state taxes and all. It was very difficult to compile all this. Government, to modify this, to remove all this, before GST, they introduced the value added tax. As I told you clearly, value added means on the profit you will be talking about how much money is going to be put. Now, when I am actually talking about VAT, the problem with VAT was we did not go for complete removal of all the indirect taxes. There was still central VAT, there was state VAT, and in between these two, you had central sales tax as well. So it does not make it to be one nation, one tax. States can impose their own VATs. Central government can impose its own VAT. It will not bring uniformity across the country. And the biggest problem was everyone had to maintain the records. And anyone can claim that I lost the records, so I cannot show anything to you. So VAT, though it was profitable to the country, it did not ensure that everything will be provided to, or every bill can be provided. Now, when we talk about GST, GST is saying that you will have only central GST. You will have state GST or union territory GST. And if at all you are importing anything from outside, you will be imposing both central and state GST. And in this, you need not maintain the records. You can actually go and pay online directly, or in banks you can go and pay. For small customers, they have told that just go and pay directly in the bank itself. So this makes technology a very important part of GST, where the government has thought of having GST network. Once if GST comes, in your bills, there will be central GST and there will be state GST. Central GST imposed by central government, state GST of state government, and it will be uniform throughout the country. So this is what they are calling about this. And they told there won't be any uniformity in the goods. There will be different standards for different goods. Right, guys? So let us see some of the important lines with respect to GST. The first thing is, by subsuming most of the central and state taxes into a single tax, and by allowing a set of prior stage taxes for the transactions across the entire value chain, it would mitigate the ill effects of cascading. That is, as I told you, retailer has to pay, wholesaler has to pay, distributor has to pay. That cascading effect will be reduced. The products will become cheaper and our products will become competitive in markets. So it will be cheaper, inflation can be reduced, and it will also improve liquidity of the businesses. That is, take for example, I have 1 lakh rupees. And if I am paying more taxes to the government, then I have less money for investment. The second important thing, earlier in other form of taxes, if I am paying others taxes, for example, if even during VAT, they used to say that reimbursement will be later. So what happens if I am a wholesaler, I used to pay 110 rupees and the retailer used to pay 140 rupees after the profits and all. So over a period of time, after he goes for IT returns and all, he used to get the taxes paid by the previous person. But unfortunately, during this time, there will be liquidity crunch. That is, enough money will not be there with the business people. But with the present system, what they have told that, see, you had to pay 2 rupees tax, but you have paid 13 rupees tax. What is the remaining? Remaining is 11 rupees. Correct? So you can say that next time when I am paying, or in my next month transaction, I will reduce 11 rupees payment. Say for example, next month you had to pay 12 rupees. So the difference will be only 1 rupee, you can pay only that. So this will improve liquidity in the market. Then GST is largely technology driven. I told you to reduce the number of files that you have to keep, receipts that you have to keep. This has been made to be technology driven. It will reduce the human interface to a great extent, and this would lead to speedy decisions. It is said that when you go for GST, you will have almost all the states. For example, let's take Jharkhand has more number of resources. But just because some state has put less taxes on some industries, companies will be interested to go and open industries in those areas rather than opening in Jharkhand where mineral resources are present. Now, if everywhere the taxes are same, there will be no incentive to move out. That will make the Make in India successful mainly because the profits and the competitiveness also increases. Under the GST regime, exports will be zero rated in entirety, unlike the present system where refund of some taxes may not take place due to fragmented nature of indirect taxes between the center and state. Usually, they used to say that whenever you aim at exporting certain products, for example, I want to export to Africa. They say that if you export to Africa, if you are paying 10 rupees as tax, I will give back 5 rupees. But all this 5 rupees was not coming properly because different people were correcting. And central government will tell, I will give you, but state governments may not give. But now that will be removed because whatever taxes you are paying, it will be in the network. GST is expected to bring buoyancy to the government revenue. You may ask me, sir, the overall taxes has reduced. I hardly paid some 13-14 rupees. Earlier I had to pay 50-60 rupees. So what is beneficial for me? Should I actually think of, when I'm talking as a government, should I actually think of normal things or should I think of GST? Always remember, earlier tax evasion was more. Now with this, the tax base will improve because everyone has to maintain the records. When they maintain the records, the number of people who pay the taxes will be more. So that leads to more taxes coming to the government. And at the same time, we also have to look at GST will bring more transparency to indirect tax laws since whole supply chain will be taxed at every stage with credit of taxes paid at the previous stage being available for set off at the next stage of supply. As I told you, you can say that, sir, he has already paid, I won't pay. Sometimes if this is properly implemented, it can go to the extent of saying that, sir, the wholesaler has paid 10 rupees and his actual thing, what his profit was 20 rupees, he has paid 10. On that 10 rupees, I am not paying any taxes. Only on the 20 rupees, I will be paying the taxes. That is only on the value added, I will be paying the taxes. I will show them and I will say, I am paying 2 rupees. The calculations will be done automatically by the system. Right? So this will help me not to pay more taxes. I told you that you may pay more and you may get a credit if we are actually going for the previous system till the GST network is proper. But once the GST network is absolutely fine, then you can pay only that amount which you are supposed to pay. You need not pay additional at all. Then more money will be left with you. The taxpayers would not be required to maintain records and show as there will be a centralized pool. Then some of the salient features are the GST would be applicable on the supply of goods or services as against the present concept of tax on the manufacturer or sale of goods or provisions. That is, you will not differentiate it into production, consumption or so. At the final consumption, whoever is consuming, we will be putting taxes. It would be a dual GST with the center and state simultaneously levying tax on a common tax base. If I am purchasing, I have to pay both central tax and also state tax. The GST to be levied by the center on intra-state supply of goods or services would be called central tax, and that to be levied by the states including union territories with legislature or union territories without legislature would be called as state tax or union territory taxes. Simple definition that is being given here. The GST would apply to all goods other than alcoholic liquor for human consumption and 5 petroleum products. This exception can be asked. Then, an integrated tax would be levied and collected by the center on interstate supply of goods and services. Wherever in between the states there is movement, they go for integrated GST. Use of input tax credit to pay in future will also help to reduce. Exports and supplies to SEZ, Special Economic Zone, shall be treated as zero-rated supplies, and you need not worry about the refunds as you have one base where all the network will be present and computerized. It will be easy for you to get the data and also refunds. Imports of goods and services would be treated as interstate supplies and would be subjected to IGST. So if you are importing something, there also you will be getting IGST taxes. Then to decide on all this, a GST council was set up, which included the ministers, finance ministers, who sat and discussed what should be the method so that everyone accepts it and there is no problem. There will be minimal interface by the tax authorities. Don't think that as everyone has to go, the tax authorities may harass everyone. That will not happen in this case, as everything will be systematic. And you need not go and pay to any offices. If you can go and pay online or in banks, it is more than. And for this, as I told you, IT preparedness is very, very important. Here we are talking about IT preparedness through GST Network, a website where monthly, whenever you put any taxes or whenever you are actually paying any taxes, it will be shown clearly, and even the others, whether the others have paid, especially associated with you, can also be known so that you are not under any risk. Technology is one of the most important thing for GST to be successful. Else, again, the same problems that we saw with respect to VAT will be seen in GST as well. Then at last, if at all they ask you a question, they may ask you about the multi-tiered system. You have 0% for consumer price basket, 5% for mass consumption like spices, processed food 12%, 18% for soaps, oil, toothpaste and all, for white goods, cars 28%, and for luxury cars 28% plus cess. So please guys, go through GST carefully. The concept that I have explained you is just to tell you that we are not paying tax on tax and we are not paying multiple taxes. So if one person has already paid 10 rupees and I will not put tax on tax, so that 10 rupees will be removed, only on his profit we have to pay. So that is what keeps on happening over a period of time. Is it fine? So rather than calling it his profit, I would say value added at every stage, from wholesaler to distributor or distributor to wholesaler. If they have added a value of 20 rupees, then we will say that you have to pay 2 rupees tax if I'm talking about 10%. So guys, I hope this is clear. If you have any queries, rather than going in the comments section, you can actually send it to us, because most of the comments we won't be knowing, and by the time we reply, you might have got the answer as well. So our request is you can actually contact us directly and inquire if you have any doubts. And with respect to geography through maps and also FEB current affairs, within next few days, or that is within this week, we will be launching both, so that you will have 15 days time to prepare carefully for prelims. All the best, do well.